It's one thing to start a business. It's a whole nother thing to grow a successful business for decades. Well, on today's show, I have Peter Scott, who runs a successful multi-million-dollar construction company here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They are proof that even 40 years in, you can still be at the top of your industry, thriving and innovating.
For the first time in a long time, the standards for construction and construction science are really raising rapidly. At the level that we're building, you don't just like, oh, you can do this. It's really, let me show you how to do this. And so how do you curate that process?
Yeah.
I think you start off as a learner and you never stop.
If you want to learn the secret to how to build a company that can literally last 4 decades, this episode is for you. Welcome to the Faithustle podcast. I am so excited for today's conversation. For those that don't know me, my name is Makwenda. I am the host of Faithustle, and I've been an entrepreneur for almost 10 years. And in this podcast, I get to interview successful Christian entrepreneurs who are not just crushing it in business, but in their lives, they reflect Christ. They have built God's way. And today is no exception. I have a gentleman here that I have admired close up and from afar for many, many years. He is in the construction business, but came from a ministry background, and him and his family literally have had a 45-year business in the DFW area, building homes and businesses and corporate spaces, and have won so many design awards that I can't keep track of. But he's an incredible man of God, husband, father, and leader. And it's incredible that he is here. You're gonna learn so much about what it takes to last 4 decades, and I know you're gonna get something out of it. So without further ado, I have my brother with me, Peter Scott.
What an honor, dude. What an honor.
This is so fun.
I love it. Like, I love hanging out with you. This is so cool.
We got to do it more.
100%.
I love being with you, man. Like I said, I really have admired you from afar. Just how you hold yourself, your character. We go to the same church.
Yes.
Shout out to Shoreline City. And it's just been cool to see what all the things that God has done in your life. And we kind of go back a little bit. We did mission trips together.
We can tell the people.
Yeah. I think 2016,
Yep.
I think we first officially met. We went to Nicaragua together.
Yep.
And we had a team of 200 people. Shout out to missions.me.
Oh, the boys.
And the boys.
Yeah, we love
Dom,
them. Gabe,
Sheehan,
come on.
Yeah.
Love it.
All Jed. And we were there for a week. We had a team of 200, which seems like a lot, but like we were taking teams of like 2,000 to these
if
trips.
not more. Yeah.
And I think we saw like 11 or 13,000 salvations in 5 days. It was probably the greatest mission trip of my life, of like harvest. Like it was just like, it was almost too easy. Like gang members were getting saved.
Yeah.
It was a blast. And
the governments were like, just open up doors, like TV stations, come talk. Like, it was incredible.
It was wild favor. And you were one of the leaders of that trip. And so, I got to know you in that season. And then later down the road, I saw that you were getting into construction in your family's business. And we were talking a little bit off camera. I'm like, I'd love to hear more of the backstory. But man, it's just a pleasure for you being here, man.
I'm going to take a turn because like, it's such a highlight for me to get to hang out with you on camera, on mic, whatever. But we do get to serve at an amazing church. Shout out to Pastor Earl and Onika McClellan. What an honor it is to get to serve with them. But you texted me like probably 3 or 4 years ago saying you were coming in.
Yeah.
And we kind of kept vaguely in contact with each other, but I knew you were in the DFW area. And then like, I don't know, like a year ago, I see you at church. I'm like, bro,
I just hit my year last month.
Heck yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're here. But like, so to your, like, this is just so you, it's like attending. Okay, it's been 12 months. Attending, and then like, all right, then I see you with a camera. You're serving on the camera team. And
like
then
the
I'm like a little bit later, oh, you're playing the drums. Okay. Pretty soon it's going to be like, you got a baby on your hip. Like, you got like,
hey, in Jesus' name.
Oh my gosh. But that's so you. And you've got that smile, and you've already made such amazing connections. And I think our leadership is seeing it. And I just want to say, like, you're doing what you do, and it's a huge blessing to watch.
Man, that actually means a lot, man. Thank you. I was so happy when I saw you. I was like, because I thought you were at Shoreline, and for whatever reason I forgot. And then when I saw you, I was like, oh my God, it's like I picked the right church. And
man, it's amazing.
It's a blast.
Yeah.
It's like we just get to, and again, one of the things that I love about Peter and all the guests, like one of the attributes that I look for is humility. It's not just like what you've accomplished, achievements, which you have a lot of those. You've done a lot of things in your career, whether it's ministry, business, but your obviously genuine love for Jesus, but also your humility of like, what immediately will turn me off as someone who's like, it's too big to serve.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you know who I am? I run this construction company, and you want me to be an usher? Like, are you kidding?
Yeah,
But like, first time I meet you, you're an usher. You're helping people to their seats, making sure they're feeling comfortable, and I'm like, see that right there? That's what we should all be striving towards.
I think it's so much of what you'll see in my story, in our story, is just the development and the mentorship of our pastors.
Yes.
In our lives. So it's not like we've created this, but you're not going to last long at Shoreline City as a leader with ego.
No.
Like
they'll snip that out
not
quick.
that you're not welcome. You can be there 100%. Like anybody can go. But if you're not willing, especially when we were small, my wife and I met in 2014 at Shoreline City. And so it was like a couple hundred people. So very, very different. And we would be in leadership where like it would be rare at all that we're like the bathroom cleaners in between services, because we were throwing like 6 services in this little tiny building. And then also like, oh, you clean up, wash your hands, and you grab a mic and you're on stage. And that was just the nature and the culture. And not just like, that's not just what we did. Pastor Earl and Nico were doing the same thing. So we were watching it. And that affected me greatly.
Yeah. That is, that rubs off. That was the first thing I saw when I came to the church. And I was like, this is a house I want to be planted in, because as I look at where I want the trajectory of my life to go, it's not just, I want to do a lot of great things. It's like, I want to look like Jesus at the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I see Jesus washing feet and all this different stuff. And it's really, it's popular to say it, but if you got an ego in the way, it's harder to do an action. But if you see it displayed, it's easy.
And it's so practical. Like, I've taken it from what I've learned in the ministry world, just watching them and other leaders that I so admire. But like in the construction world, where a daily, like I try to, in a daily practice, like I get out of my truck, we're walking up onto a project, and there's 20, 30, 40 craftsmen, sometimes more at these job sites. The project, these are anywhere from, for us right now, it's like $3 to $7 million homes that are like, these are big projects for us. And, but I want like them to see me and my team, doing what we would expect them to do. So like I try every single time I can find a piece of trash on the ground, pick it up.
It's the visual cue.
Yeah. It's just like, And then I don't want to pass anybody without trying to say hello and trying to say it in their language, And so it's just that like this project is not the point. You're the point, And so and we picked up all that gold from Pastor Earl and Nico.
That's beautiful. I tell you what, it is worth it for those who are watching to get plugged into a healthy
100%.
local church. And to look for the attributes and characteristics that you want in yourself. To grow in. And I mean, fruit, I've been saying it recently on the pod, like I think there's a reason why it's the fruit of the Spirit, because it's bright, it's colorful. Like,
I like that.
Like it's not hard to spot. You don't gotta like squint to see fruit. It's like it's there.
And
And I immediately saw it when I came. And so, Man, I want to jump
Shameless
right.
plugs to Shoreline City.
I know, yeah, we just did an ad. Come to Shoreline City.
We're not getting paid.
We are not getting paid. No. Give us a year. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I'd love to get into, because you hinted at in the construction business and the $1 million homes and stuff that you guys work on, but kind of walk me through that journey of how you got into the business, into the family business, and your dad started it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad was born into a real estate family here in Dallas, and that was kind of the trajectory he was on. But he was a true entrepreneur in the sense of like just jump off cliffs, figure out how to do it later.
My type of guy. Yeah.
So he had the opportunity to in the middle of selling real estate, had the opportunity to build some condos, and he was like, yeah, sure, no problem, I'll do it. Yeah.
And so can you do it? Yeah, absolutely.
I can. Yeah. So he did that and had some success with that, and did a few more. And then his best friend is a guy named Ed Jarrett, who's a mentor to me today. And Ed actually invited my dad to a Bible study right out of college where my dad got to meet the Lord.
That's awesome.
And so Ed and my dad started Jarrett and Scott in 1975. And they went from more multifamily and condos, things like that, to high-end luxury, mostly in the Park Cities area and here in Dallas.
Yeah.
And so they built for a long time. And for me as a kid, it was just like all these amazing houses, like my playground, So
Wow.
I'm just like, just exploring, trying to find the secret passages, in my mind. It was just like, my dad had such a cool job. And as I grew older, I realized, it's an amazing opportunity and a way to make a living, but there's also some really difficult things about it. And they hit every single one of the financial crises, the early 90s, and then 2000 and 2008, and so those things hit the industry in a hard way, and it's almost like a hard reset where you have to adapt, restart, and so as a young kid into like when I was getting to college age, I was like, man, that seems like a hard way to make a living. So I'll see you later.
It was not attractive. Right. You're not like, sign me up.
I'm going to go to college. And honestly, in my brain, I love aviation. So I was like, I'm going to be an aviation.
Oh, really?
Aviation engineering.
I could totally see that. You being Maverick, Tom Cruise.
Oh gosh.
I could see it.
Fly him, but like I wanted to build all kinds of things. And so that was a dream of mine. So I started like applying in that route. And then my parents, one of the things that was amazing about my family is the third world countries and adoption, the children of third world countries, homeless, things like that were a big part of the passion that my parents had. And so my parents, I don't know if you know this or not, I have a massive family. I
did not realize how big your family. I don't know.
9 biological is if that's not big enough, and then
9 biological.
9 biological, and then my parents adopted 11.
What?
Yeah. So
really,
yeah. So I feel like this is something that I just walk around, everybody just knows about me because it's so like. But anyways,
no, I didn't know.
So that's pivotal in like getting to know like. Not your average childhood.
Yeah.
And then, so in high school and as I prepared for college, my parents were really involved in orphan ministry.
Wow.
And so they're traveling all over the world. They're traveling to different churches. It's outreach. It's getting is like awareness, those kind of things. And so kind of during this time, I had the opportunity to travel with them a lot. And that was life-changing. Just life-changing. So my path went from there to college. Right out of college, I had the opportunity to work. I got invited to work for a church, which wasn't really on my I was thinking that I was going a different path, and I was like, "Well, sure, why not? I'm young. Let's go." It was in student ministry. I loved student ministry, and so I fell so in love with that I was like, I can't imagine. I can see this, like, as I get older, the audience could get older, but like I loved like the ministry world.
Yeah.
And it was such a gift to me and so formative to me in my relationship with the Lord, and great leadership. It was wonderful. So I was on that path, and bro, I was not looking to detour.
Yeah.
At that point was in seminary, just doing the thing as growing in that career. And got a call at this point. So it was Jarrett and Scott for a long time.
Yep.
And then during one of the financial crises, my dad was like, you know what, I'm going to retire. And so he retired, did some odd and end things, bought a retail, like farmer ranch store, was kind of doing some remodeling on the side, but just having fun, really. But that remodeling on the side turned into something very different. And so he then renamed the company Jim Scott and Sons. This is when I was probably when I was late high school, college time frame. And so I get this call. I'm in Austin, serving at a church in Austin at this time. Get a call. He's like, hey, Pete, we're getting really busy, and I really do want to retire. Wow. And so would you consider coming in a leadership role? And at this point, they are busy, but it's not a sustainable business for like his family, my family, some other brothers that are working. You know, it couldn't do that, and so it was going to require some side hustle. And I just was like, no, I've got like the Lord. Thus saith the Lord. I'm a pastor. I'm a pastor. That's what I'm supposed to be doing, and I know it. And so I got off the phone. I think I went on a run, a jog, something, and like it was within hours that I had just had this really incredible encounter, and it was like, I'm supposed to go back to Dallas.
Wow. So
I did that. This was 2013. So end of 2013. So I really didn't start jumping into the company business until early 2014. And
we would have met 2016.
Yeah.
So this is, So
I mean, this is right there.
Yeah.
And it was for anyone who's out there with a dream and you are having to hustle a ton of different opportunities to pay for the dream. Like that was 2014 for me. So I was, I worked in high-end restaurants through college. Okay. And so I jumped right back in. So I was like, and this was such a identity change for me from being in what I thought was a high leadership position in churches, on stages, things like that, to, I'm working at a restaurant. Yeah. You know? And then not only that, but I am side hustling, doing some consulting at restaurants, and that was all in the evenings, mornings, things like that. And then I'm working full time for Jim Scott and Sons, trying to, build that into something that could give me a paycheck, because it currently was not. But just honestly, I knew that this is where I was supposed to be, and I did not know where it was going. I most certainly didn't think that I would be at the helm of the ship at some point, because my dad was there, and then I had also had my brother Andrew was working at the company. He had been there before me, and he's honestly was so gifted at it. So I it's really just kind of blind obedience, and it wasn't all glorious either. Like it's like, God, what are you doing? I don't understand this. Did I make a mistake? All those things. But just sticking to it, man. So fast forward. My dad was humble enough to allow us to bring in some things, some changes, structure. I met my wife, Lauren, who is a brilliant creative and was like all kinds of marketing. We went on some of our first dates. She called them dates. I was like, this is a working relationship, because I was in denial, but I was paying for her food. I just wanted to hang out with her. But for me, it takes things. I'm a slow roll. Like it takes me sometimes, but I just wanted to hang out with her. But she rebranded us in 2014, 2015.
And that's when I started seeing it. I was like, man, you're a great marketing guy. You're like, no, that's her. That's not me.
I mean, and honestly, like all that marketing, I think I paid for a few meals and like $400 or $500. It was like
it was an investment.
Yeah, exactly. I owe her. I 100% owe her.
That's amazing.
And she's continued to lead us out in that.
That's
and
awesome.
So at this point, my dad passed away in 2018, and my brother Andrew, who was with the company, almost the exact opposite. He was in the company and then had the opportunity and calling to jump into our church and leadership. And so he jumped out of like the 9 to 5 into ministry. And so there I was with like, okay,
it's you.
It's me.
Wow.
And so it's been an amazing journey of learning a lot of things, of asking a lot of hard questions, of learning things the hard way, like School of Hard Knocks. But yeah, that's my story, Jim Scott and Sons.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, do you ever feel as a Christian entrepreneur that you're alone? That in a world full of people who are building their businesses off of greed and self-help, you're by yourself on an island trying to build your business God's way? Well, I'm here to tell you, you're not alone. When I started my podcast over a year ago, I started with a mission of, could I find like-minded people who were crushing it in business, but doing it God's way? And over 50 episodes later, I've interviewed dozens of millionaires and investors and serial entrepreneurs who have all built their business God's way. And it gave me hope that there is a community of like-minded people who want to build a different way. And I realized we need more than just a podcast that can give information. We need a community that can bring transformation to our lives, to our businesses, so that we can actually build our businesses the way God designed them to be built. And that's why we launched our own online school community called the Faithustle Network. The Faithustle Network is an online space where we can learn to grow our businesses God's way together. You'll get the opportunity to learn from Christian multimillionaires, business owners, and investors, to be a part of our entrepreneur-focused Bible studies and prayer calls where we pray for each other's businesses, and receive exclusive discounts and first access to all Faith Hustle events and resources. Not to mention, you get to be a part of a growing community of hundreds of Christian business owners and content creators, all looking to build their business God's way. If this describes you, join the Faith Hustle Network today. I can't wait to see how God grows you and your business, and I hope you'll join us inside the Faith Hustle Network. The beautiful thing, and hopefully this is encouraging someone, I think we can easily look at something in the after, and be like, oh man, it was always this big,
right,
or it was always this, and it's like, no, like there was a journey, and I hope this can be inspiring of like, yeah, like, hey, like if you just stick with it and trust in the Lord, like the path is not straight.
That's correct.
And it's just cool to see how God orchestrated all the, and how your dad, trusted you.
Yes.
Be like, hey, like, I want you here. I believe in you. I think you can take this forward. I mean, what did that feel like? I mean, I can only imagine and I remember when you guys posted the news of your dad going to heaven. But I can only imagine the weight of that mantle of like, oh man, okay, I got to take on, because like when you brought it on, like how many employees is Jim Scott and Sons right now, and subcontractors?
So we're actually probably about as small as we've ever been, like employee wise.
Yeah,
there's 6 of us.
Gotcha.
On staff. And then we subcontract, and that's really the management team.
Yeah.
And then we subcontract everything. And so these are relationships in some cases that have been with the company longer than I've been alive.
Wow.
So like these are really trusted relationships.
Yeah. So like architects or, just different trades and whatnot that you've had relationships with.
Yeah. I mean, these are like, the industry is really growing and advancing. And so our strategy is like really like digging in with relationships that we've had for longer than I've been alive.
Yeah. I love that.
To creating new relationships and bringing them on and training them in our way, and our expectations and the crafts and all that. And so it's kind of a combination of old and new, because really for the first time in a long time, the standards for construction and construction science are really raising rapidly. And so we are already in a crisis of like real craftsmen and craftswomen. And so at the level that we're building, you don't just like oh, you can do this. It's really let me show you how to do this. And let me show you how to do it the way that our philosophy is and our culture is and things like that. So there's a lot of that. It's never boring.
Yeah.
Never.
I can only imagine. I mean, how many homes do you guys build or projects that you guys do in a year? Like,
so most of our projects aren't completable in 12-month.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So it's typically 14-month minimum usually, unless it's a little bit smaller or a remodel, things like that. We'll do some of that. But typically it's right around 18 months to 2 years. And so, but we are currently holding, we typically hold, a pre-construction pipeline that's about 6 to 7 projects. And so all of that is in design. You're working with architects, interior designers, engineers to get all the documentation on paper. That's a job in and of itself. And then the construction process will hold another 8 to 12 projects.
Gotcha.
And then there's always a passive process of there's maybe 4 to 6 projects in warranty at any given time.
Got it.
So that's kind of the life cycle.
Got it. Yeah. So it's not as clean as of.
I would love it to be. Yeah.
But it's never. Yeah. But it's never. And
it's a long client relationship. Like, and a lot of times it could be 4 to 6 years in that process.
And are you typically building more residential or
it's all high in single family residential.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I mean the homes they build are stunning. Like
some really fun projects.
Yeah. And it's built. It's funny. I you know how you randomly will find stuff on the internet, whatever like that, or TikTok, whatever. And I got on, I don't know how the algorithm found me, but I got on this random, I don't even know who the guy is, but I think he's an inspector. And but he started making content.
Oh, those are fun. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's eye-opening. I'm like, all right, now I know what to look for when I, whenever I, do my home. And he's showing these brand new $2 million homes. He's like cracking the foundation here. And it's like shingles off. He's like, it's almost like they sold this for $2 million.
Yeah.
Like where's the integrity in how this thing was built? But I mean, I can tell with y'all, it's like y'all build really well and it's beautifully designed. And
the industry has a hard time with its reputation, and well-deserved in many ways. It's a really complicated relationship, but there are ways to cut corners, and in some ways, the difficult thing is like home prices are already so high, right? And property values are already so high.
Yeah.
So how are people going to afford a house? You know?
Yeah.
So you have contractors getting creative. And part of that might be ethics, but part of it is just like I'm trying to be able to have a product that a consumer can purchase.
That's affordable.
And then gratefully, like we're in a price point where construction science excellence is like you have to be at the table, And so what an honor, and it's awesome. But we also are still compared. Like we have a client that's like, hey, why is this project next to us? They're in framing, but you're still in foundation. And the reality is like, and I think it's so much of it is just consumer education. But like the practices that are going into this foundation are like, this guy next to us skipped like 10 steps, know? And so it's just different. And
it might seem faster, but but yours will last longer.
And perform different, you know, and better. And so it's just really helping customers understand what is out there and what's available, and then really learning what's important to them and then educating.
Yeah, that's really good. I think, for anyone in any business, I think you can take because different industries have different reputations.
Right.
And we often say here that, if you're going to call yourself a Christian business owner.
Yes.
Or put a stamp, especially here in Texas, there's so many, John 3:16.
Right.
Or whatever, they're, and I think that's actually a company. Or 316, And there's so many different companies that put on a fish symbol or whatever, right? And it's like, if you're going to do that, you better be good.
Yes. Yeah.
If we're going to represent the kingdom, it's not just in words. And I feel like sometimes I've seen people do it where it's like, hey, give me some grace, like, because I'm a Christian. It's like, I've seen it. Or I'm like, no, actually,
that's not how this works.
No. Actually, you should be better. You know,
that's right. That's right.
So I think this is inspiring because the temptation is to in any industry to cut corners. I mean, I came in from marketing and advertising. Thankfully, I was trained the right way. The agency I was at, you may know them. They used to go on trips with Missions.me, the Cobb family, Dan Cobb.
Yeah.
And he had, still, it's on their website. It's in their core values. We will never lie to or lie for a client.
Love it.
And the moment we do this is the moment we die.
Yeah.
Like it's in writing,
Put
in
it
stone.
out there.
Yeah. It's like to the point where like they've lost deals.
Yes.
Because they would refuse to lie
Totally.
in presentations. Yep. I was with them. Like a little side tangent. We were pitching big business where, it would have been $30 million a year for 5 years, guaranteed.
Let's go.
Yeah. And I was on the pitch. Like I was like a part of it. Like I don't know how much I would have got, but I would have got something.
Yeah.
And we made it to like the last round. I think we were like top 3. And pitch went well, but they asked him at the end, like, hey, do y'all do this one project, case study that you showed? Did you do this portion of it? And they're like, we could have said yes.
Right.
But
Easy.
They're like, no, we outsourced that. Mm-hmm. That's not our in-house specialty. And that's what caused us to lose. One of the reasons. But we could have easily lied and said, yeah, it's part of our team. But it's like they already went in pre-deciding, no. And I think what I'm trying to get at is I love that you guys, it almost seems you pre-decide integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like, it's not in the moment that I'll see if I feel like having integrity. It's like we're pre-deciding because we're believers and we have to go above and beyond. We're pre-deciding this is how we're going to do things.
Yes.
I'd love for you to like touch on that.
I think I'm going to back up a little bit because there was a lot in the beginning of my career in the industry. There was a lot. I was kind of riding on learning and growing and building at the same time. But I would get into projects where there was an expectation of the client, there was an expectation that we had, and they weren't aligned. And so there was a few times where that would happen, and whether it be budget, whether it be scope, whether it be the end result, and there was this misalignment with what we were saying at the beginning of the relationship, which is like, we care for people and people are the most important thing. There's all kinds of values that we had around caring for people. But early on, like I was running into situations where I was like, I don't think they feel that, And so one of the things that we started doing, so I'm coming from all references and trainings to me come back to like my fine dining training.
No, that's cool.
When I was
that's
in college. Awesome. And so I started thinking about like what we need, like a really, really curated client experience from the beginning to the end. And so there's alignment. And a huge part of that is healthy boundaries. Healthy communication and healthy boundaries. Yeah, the client needs boundaries. And it's not just, let's keep them, at a distance so we can cut a corner. No, it's like, I think the most loving thing in the world for us to do to this client is for the professionals to come up with a detail, figure it out, and present it, because having the client in that relationship or in that conversation might be stressful in that moment.
Yeah.
They don't know all the details, and they don't do this every single day. And so it's like, how can we curate a client experience? So I came up with this analogy that's been really helpful for us, which is, all right, the client is going out on a date.
Yeah.
All right. And it is a vibey restaurant. So they're in the booth and it's kind of like, all you can see is a glow. They're having a great conversation, and their team is represented as the interior designers, the architect, the builder, and then it grows from there, the landscape. But just to keep it simple, those three parts of the projects are really, really important. And so I think for us, as I started creating that experience in my head, it's like, okay, so the interior designers are the ambiance. They're what's that client is feeling, and they feel comfortable in that booth, and they're enjoying each other. And then the architects are curating, plating the food, and maybe they're presenting the food, and that's they're experiencing this. That's why they went. They're experiencing this relationship
for that.
But what would be stressful, and then before I jump in there, we're in the kitchen. We're the builder, and that's what we are no ego. Like we are a service, and we are making it, preparing it.
Yeah,
we're back of house.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really important for us to know our role. And I think where the relationship gets clunky is when something goes wrong in that booth, and the client feels like they need to come to the back of the house into the kitchen to be like, hold it. Like, like because I think what some builders do really innocently, anyone in the industry, is back of house is like, oh, this shipment of salmon didn't come in. And then the chef's like, oh, no big deal. We'll get it from this vendor instead, make a switch, whatever it is. Yeah. There's nothing integrally wrong with that switch. But if the client is in the kitchen and they have to go through that transaction, is that kind to them?
No.
Is that like...
They don't get to enjoy their date.
Exactly. Trust has been broken because for some reason they're in the kitchen trying to help you figure out what salmon to get for their meal.
That's brilliant.
And so I think that our job is to maintain trust, maintain communication, and our place in the process so the client always is enjoying each other and the experience.
Does
that make sense?
That's a brilliant... No, it makes complete sense. That's a brilliant analogy. And because I think there are certain client services businesses where it's similar to that, where I think I've been in client services for almost my whole career, and there's certain aspects. If I told every person the different dilemmas in editing or the things that were the steps, it would just overwhelm them. Yes. And a lot of times they're like, I don't care how you do it, just get it done. Right. Like, and I trusting you to like even like I felt in the beginning like, do I need to tell them like, oh, this is a subcontractor, or how many people I have on the team doing it? And I came to realize they really don't care.
No, their trust is in you.
It's me.
And in the end result.
Yeah. It's like, hey, we've seen your case studies. You've done it for this person at that high step. So clearly you have a process that works. You tell us the process and tell us a timeline. I don't care what you need to do to get it done. Right. Here's the resources. Here's the contract. Like, hey, like we came to you. Exactly. I literally remember I had a client. He was like, like no matter what you would have said or how much it was, I was going with you. Yeah. Like, because I trust you.
There it is.
And and so it's part of that. So yeah, you can do now. I think the integrity piece, even on my end, same thing with cutting corners of like, if it's within scope, it's like, hey, like let's make it the best it can be. Yeah. And so yeah, if we do need to switch out a salmon, or in my case, hey, if we need to bring in a sound designer to professionally mix this so that the product can be the best it can be, hey, we're gonna do it if it's within our means of what we have. So that, honestly, so that they have the best experience they can, but they don't need to know all the ins and outs.
I don't actually think it's kind for them to like be in the entire process. I do think what they need to know about us is if you gave me $10, the culture of our team is for you to get, whether you realize the process or not, for you to get the most value for that $10 possible. Our team is constantly fighting on the client's behalf so that they get the most out of the 10. Not so be like, oh, they gave us $10. Where's this other thing for 7?
Wow. Yeah.
That's not how we think. And so I think our clients knowing that and feeling that is really important.
That's good. That's good. This is so practical and so helpful. Just like mindset. And I've had Jansen Klefferger on the show.
Sure.
And he also has a dining experience.
Yes.
Like he was more into wines
Love
and
Jansen.
stuff and like high-end restaurants.
Yeah.
And so he talks about he has the same approach in when he's selling real estate of that dining experience. And
yes.
I think it would do us good. I know there's a whole book on hospitality.
There is. Yeah.
And I'm almost done with it. I'm still in the beginnings of it. But I love the principle of it of, what is kind to that person.
Yes.
And consider others before yourself.
100%.
Sometimes it's, hey, here's what they need right now.
Yep.
And really what you're saying, you have to have high emotional IQ. Like this is not like, especially if we're all in the people business, but like more, so this touches people like more.
Yes.
Like you're working residential with, you know what I mean? And so you have to have high emotional. What would you suggest to a business owner of like their in-client services? How do you develop that? Because what I'm hearing you is like, this is the core of it, to have an experience where it's seamless, where they feel cared for, and you let them into certain parts of it, but you protect them from the things they just don't need to concern themselves
right.
with. How would you suggest someone to develop that emotional IQ to really understand people?
I love the question. I think it always is going to start like you can't fake this. Like you really can't.
Yeah, no.
You're not going to be like, I'm going to curate this experience. This like, I really care for you, but I don't.
This is a strategy to care. Yeah.
You cannot. Yeah, that's not how it works. I think these are biblical principles that work in the kingdom, and they work because they're biblical principles.
That's good.
And so, and my philosophy is I don't know that you necessarily have to say it all the time. Like, this verse says this, so that's why I'm doing it. Sometimes that's not helpful or kind to the audience. Sometimes it's just say to do it. And so
let them see with reactions.
Yeah. I think depending on what the service is, I think any way that if you're in the very, very, very beginning of it, any way that you can try to be a participant before you are the content creator of that experience would be amazing. So this is someone you like on social media, go and learn, like what are they doing that's just awesome.
Yeah.
And try to be a part of the experience and learn from their processes as a participant, as a client. If you can. And then I think it's just constant evaluation, like grueling evaluation of like, okay, that project went way better than the last project.
Yeah.
But what could we do better? What was clunky? How was that punch list process? How can we get better? And so I think one is really hard to have that conversation by yourself. So get in front of a table with your team, get that client at the table. Humility. How can we do this better? And I think one of the things that I get asked a lot in interviews, hey, what's your favorite project you've ever done? And this may sound cheesy, but like for me, yes, I've really been excited about some really cool opportunities we've gotten to do. But my favorite project is the next project because it is building on all the things that we've learned and improved from the last project. Not the last projects were amazing, but the next one will be better.
Wow.
And so I think it's that pursuit. And so how do you curate that process?
Yeah.
Like, I think you start off as a learner and you never stop.
That's beautiful.
Right?
Beautiful. That's
so
brilliant. No, it's funny. Like when you said that, I immediately thought of Tom Brady.
Come on,
because that's what they asked him. It's like, what was your favorite Super Bowl? He was like, the next one. He always always said that.
Maybe
every
I
time.
Subconsciously stole that.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, I stole it. No.
No, that's yours. Own it. No, that's you. No, but like that's what Tom Brady would say. I know. Like, I mean, Bill Belichick is like, it's like, yeah. So what are you looking forward to? After winning the Super Bowl, he was like, honestly, we're behind in training camp.
Let's go.
He was like already. Which I mean, there's some balance to that.
Sure.
Have some joy.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Enjoy it. You know what I mean? But like he was already thinking the next. It was just that like, and what I'm hearing from you is like it's this. When you do have a genuine love for people, and you have a heart of humility, it's going to come out and wanting to constantly improve because
Yes.
you want to constantly be better at serving, and you want to constantly, you know, improve so that you can serve better and all those different things and be at your best. Having that tenacious desire
Oh,
of
yeah.
evaluate. And I love what you said of like have the client at the table, which that's a real pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And have your team and like be honest in your evaluation of where you're at. I mean, when you're saying that, because like one of my next questions is like, it is so rare nowadays for a multitude of reasons for people to stay in a company for more than like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, 4 decades. I mean, 45 years. That's not a small feat.
Yeah.
And so, and my question was going to be, which obviously we can still get into, like, how do you, what are the things that keep you at 45 years? But I was like, I think you just answered my question. Like, it's that. Never stop learning, never stop evaluating yourself, and your favorite project or your best project is the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really helpful for people that are just getting started to know that there are probably 20 things in the last 45 that could have taken us out.
Wow.
Maybe more. This is not like, oh, we're so great. We've lasted 45 years. There's all kinds of things that would have made this not work. But I think I want to say first and foremost, but for the grace of God, and I do not want to say that as a cliche because I feel like God's doing something and it's such an honor to be a part of it. But the next thing that I would say is what you just said, and that is don't stop. And I think for maybe our parents' generation, they didn't have this dangling thing of like people got to where we want to be real quick. You know, it was like this, like, oh, last year I was working at a restaurant and now I've got 10 million followers on whatever, you know, like, and like that's so enticing. We think, oh, there's a way that maybe I can do that too. But the reality is one, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But
More or
two,
less,
if it did happen, you wouldn't be ready for the wait.
Yes.
So take one step at a time. Trust that God is faithful. Trust that you have the ability to take the next step at a time. Learn, and ask lots of questions and stay on it.
I think that's fascinating. You mentioned something that I think this is where you were going.
Okay.
Of the previous generation that like they didn't have social media.
That's right.
So unless, you know, there's obviously the keeping up with the Joneses, like in your neighborhood, but like you don't know what's happening in California.
That's right.
Of like, because now, like I mean, and people are still doing this, not as much as they used to. I remember there used to be all these ads of these internet guys, and like they're literally like showing you screenshots. This is how much I made in my Shopify, and like you're like, if you want to make this, like hit the link. You know, it's like, and so you're like, man, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
Because like they were able to do this in like 6 months.
Exactly.
And like who knows how true it is. Photoshop is really easy to use. You know? So like you know, like, but regardless, I think something you said, like they didn't know what other people were doing maybe as much as we do,
right.
Or how we have so much visibility
to compare.
So like only thing you can do is just keep going.
Yes.
Because there's no one else to compare yourself with as overstimulating it is now.
Yes.
And I think but now, I mean, I think for us, it's like we just have to do a better job of discipline.
Yes.
Of shutting it off.
Yes.
Of quieting that noise. I mean, I have to do it. Like the podcast, I'm like, man, there's so many people like they went viral so quick. God, when's my moment? You know?
Exactly.
And it's like, it's already revealing in your heart why you're doing it, and and then I have to repent. And I'm like, sorry, God, you know, and like, it's like, no, just keep one step in front of the other, one step in front of the other.
And it may not be what that other guy gets. You know, it may not.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah. That I think
it is our goal. It's so it's not cool, but like it has to be like, what is my portion? What am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be being faithful to? Am I prioritizing the right things? Am I healthy? Am I getting time with my family? Am I prioritizing my wife? Like, it is pretty simple.
Yeah.
Just like, let's be excellent in the things God put in front of us.
That's brilliant.
And maybe there's something really big and impressive. But I think if we take the journey that God has us on in the little things, we're not going to be real impressed by that thing that we think is real impressive. We're just not. We're going to be like, wow, I just want to be faithful, because that's what we've been doing for the past 10 years. I just want to be faithful.
That's so good. Yeah, I think it's wild how looking around, it does affect your faithfulness and ability, even how you look at something. Because, I mean, almost in a similar way, it's like, that's what keeps a marriage healthy.
Oh, yes.
You know, of not comparing, you know, your marriage versus another, or, you know, oh man, that looks better than what I have. And it's like, you never tend to the garden that you have. Right. And especially for entrepreneurs, people who are like entrepreneurial, like, I think we are so, I'm like this. Like, it's a discipline for me to be focused.
Yes.
And if one thing I've had to learn over the years is there will always be something flashy, something shiny, something that looks easier, but it's really not. And it's like, I have to discipline myself to like, nope, this is what I'm building. This is, and I need to be excited. Like, this is the big thing. What I'm building. And when it's sexy, when it's not, like, I have to be faithful to it. And over time, I'll see the fruit of that if I just stay at it.
Exactly. And I'm not saying be apathetic. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we have to be creative. We have to dream. Like, there's a huge part of us of that. What God's put in us is like, Lord, it seems like this could be. Is it this? Is it not? But I'm sticking to what you've told me. And there's gonna be cliffs to jump off that He's like, go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So not apathy, but faithfulness. And
that, I mean, that's what we're called to as believers. And it's, you know, because our, you know, progression in Christ is not always highs.
Yes.
And I've had valleys, right? We've all had them where it's like, okay, like, I'm not riding off the high of a conference or whatnot. Right. It's like, okay, no, I just gotta.
That's got its place. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. But it's like, I just gotta work this word.
Yes.
Gotta do what I know. Pray, seek the Lord, right? And it's, Pastor Earl says this a lot of times, like when you're in a place of like a lot of unknowns, like, hold close to what you do know.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, like, for you, it might be, okay, God called me to this business. Okay, that's what I know. I might not know any other knowns.
Yes.
There's a lot of other unknowns that I know. So let me hold fast to what I do know.
And make sure, too, that you're not the only person in your life that thinks that you should be.
Yeah.
You know?
I should be doing
like,
this.
just take some cues. I just want to save somebody some really heartache.
Yeah.
Make sure you've got mentors.
Brilliant.
You're being discipled. People that you love also feel the confirmation that you're supposed to be doing what you're doing. Because there's just some like,
you're not alone.
Don't be that person.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, because you can be in a silo by yourself.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, we're coming to the end here. This has been so good. This has instilled a lot of. Every episode is different. I think this is instilling some like really foundational principles of how to last. I think one of my first business books I read, I actually read Built to Last Before Good to Great, hilariously enough.
Okay.
Yeah. And by Jim Collins.
Yes.
And the whole mission of the book is like, okay, how did Good to Great, how did companies outperform in markets? Built to Last is like, how did they stay?
Exactly.
And stay
Two very
excellent.
different things.
Two very different things. And it's funny, some of those companies that were in Good to Great are not doing that good
That's
right
right.
now.
Yeah.
Southwest being one of them right now. But I just love for you to leave any last just wisdom that you would give to someone that's in that start as a new business owner, they're a believer. What anything that comes to mind of like, man, I would focus on this. This needs to be at the core of your foundation.
You're listening to this and you're in all kinds of different stages, you know? Like I'm in an established company, but I also feel like we're just kind of getting started, you know?
Yeah.
And so you may be listening to this and feel like you identify with that. You're like, you know, I've been at this for a while, but there's some fresh wind.
Yeah.
And there's some change coming up. And this is really exciting.
Yeah.
But you could also be like, I've got nothing. I'm working this job, dreaming about this thing that I think God's doing. And so I would say where you're at right now, I think I'm beating a dead horse, but stay faithful.
No.
You know, really like consistency, surround yourself with wisdom, learn. If you're listening to this podcast, it already says something so important about you, which is like you recognize you don't have it all figured out, which you don't. We don't. We're still learning. And so it's like, fill yourself with content, but don't just fill yourself with content and learn, put it to practice.
That's good.
I think what you do when nobody's looking is so important.
Absolutely.
When you're getting up in the morning, what you're doing with that time, how you're spending it, what are the things that are obviously in your hands to be a good steward of, and absolutely take that seriously. Like right now, take it seriously. We all have responsibilities. And so do that in excellence. And then put yourself out there.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
like
so
put yourself out there, get yourself surrounded with people that are doing what you're interested in doing. And if you're in that place, I think, where you've made the jump, you've got the webpage, you've got the Instagram, you know, you're hustling, and maybe you're doing multiple things and you're trying to keep it afloat. Maybe the hustle is in the red. I think I just want to encourage you to don't give up.
Yeah.
I think we're in a society that we're easily bored. We're easily disinterested if it's not working when we think it should.
Yep.
And if we're confident that this is where we're supposed to be, keep going.
Brilliant.
I don't know that it was brilliant.
No, it is. No, it is. It is, because it's a lost art.
Yeah.
I'd say. It's. I feel like we often complicate what is actually simple.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the actual thing that's going to, you know, any person I talk to that's been in business longer, it's like, yeah, the advice they give, like, yeah, you can give a lot of different things, but it's like at one point, it's like, yeah, it's going to be hard. Keep going.
100%.
Just like
it's way harder than the other path.
Yeah.
100%. Way harder.
Absolutely.
And I would say too, like, please no one hear me say just keep going at a trajectory that's not excellent. You know, don't keep going in a trajectory that's not right. Like I have companies come to us all the time. They're like, hey, but we've been painting for 45 years. And the years don't impress me as much as the how and the trajectory of the direction of the company. If you've been painting 45 years wrong, you're still painting 45 years. You're still painting wrong.
You're just getting older and
you're
worse.
Exactly. Like if you don't have a mentality of the next one's going to get better, and we're going to innovate, and we are going to create this other thing to make the client experience better. And one step out, if the steps aren't building on each other, reevaluate.
That's beautiful. That's really good. I think, and I think you put such a beautiful bow on it, that how to, like, really the theme of this podcast has been how to last.
How to last,
right?
yeah.
How to last well. And part of it is not just making it of like, yes, don't give up. But to last well, it's like you have to continually outdo yourself.
Yes.
And never stop learning. And because listen, like even just in life, I know a lot of people who are older but not wiser.
That's right.
It's like
lots.
The amount of years that you live on this planet does not automatically equate to wisdom.
Yes, exactly.
Like, wisdom is a practice that you have to put in place, constantly be learning all those different things, and like I don't want to just grow older. I want to grow better.
No, it's the thing that like when people say time heals all things.
Yeah,
it does not.
It's a lie. It's a myth.
No, if you're marinating and brewing and you're bitter on the thing, it will not change.
Right.
Time's not going to help it at all.
No.
It might make it worse.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. That's good. I mean, how many marriages have we seen over the years that like they're married 20, 25 years and then they end in divorce? You're like, man, y'all lasted a long time. It's like the amount of years didn't mean it was healthy years.
You weren't working towards each other.
No.
You weren't fighting for humility. Like, no.
Yeah. It was just time.
You were just partners. You were roommates. Living in your selfishness.
Yeah.
Not sacrificing for each other. And it ended up like that. No surprise.
Wow. And so I think for our businesses, I think what we can grasp from that is it's not just don't just tote how many years you've been in something, but that we've gotten better.
Yes.
And better and better and
we're
better.
Insatiable in our hunger for excellence.
I love it. And the fact that hunger is stronger at year 45.
Soon.
Yeah. It's like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like that's the goal.
Yeah.
And I mean, like our relationship with Jesus is like, hey, when I'm in my 50s, I should be more on fire for the Lord then, more devoted than I am now. Like I should be getting better. And so, man, this has been so good.
Thank you so much.
Dude, thank you, man.
Oh my gosh, I've so enjoyed this. I so respect. I think what we're talking about, this so well, right? Mm-hmm. Like putting one foot in front of another. Lord, what are you doing? Ooh, like this is not making sense. You moved me here for what? But now people are really being blessed.
Praise God.
And I think it's just starting. But
thank you, man. And this conversation encourages me, like, hey, keep going. Because I'm like, all right, like I can see 20, 25 years of this.
Yes.
So this is encouraging of like, always be improving. And I think it's confirmation too of like the core that's in our team. Like, Freddie's here. Jonathan, Becca, who are in Tennessee, like we're constantly improving. How can this season be better than season 2? Like,
100%.
Like we're always trying to get a little better. Like me and Freddie were just talking like, we implemented some new stuff. And so I'm excited.
And that's fun.
It is.
Like when you're collaborating with people that just want to get better and be excellent and the goal isn't ego or like status or, it is really exciing.
It is.
It really is.
Not to throw in another Jim Collins quote out there, but I'll throw it in there from Good to Great of when he talks about it's more important to have the right people on the bus and you don't know where you're going than to have the wrong people but you feel like you have a clear direction because you're not going to get there.
Right? No, exactly.
And it's like, but if you have the right people, like, we're in it, we're committed, we want to constantly get better. Like having the right people on the bus is going to get you where you want to go.
And I've been in both buses.
Yeah.
And then the ideal option is obviously like right people, right bus.
Yeah.
The bus is going somewhere in the right direction, like, which I feel like we're so grateful to be in, but I've been in both those buses and
it's like always pick the right people.
Get in the bus that doesn't know where it's going, because the right people will create momentum.
That's brilliant, man. This is so good. I know you got to get going, so I want to honor your time. But man, this has been so helpful, man. Thank you.
I love this.
Awesome. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Faith Hustle podcast. We hope you felt challenged, encouraged, and equipped to walk out your faith hustle. And if you enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on YouTube or any audio platform. As well, leave us a review. It helps us so much in our ratings so we can get the word out to more people. Each week we have these conversations with business owners who build their business God's way. And so we look forward to growing with you on your faith hustle journey. We'll see you next time.